To Richard Johnson, Senior Lecturer on U.S. Politics at the Queen Mary University of London. Richard, we appreciate you being with us this morning as we continue to follow this breaking news. Your first reaction as someone who studies and understands deeply U.S. politics.
This is one of the great multi-generational figures of American politics and indeed world politics. I mean, it's difficult to know where to begin with Jesse Jackson, and many of the contours of his political engagement are well known. But let me just give you an example that I think is probably less well known, but may be of interest, particularly to an international audience, because Jesse Jackson was not just a great figure in American politics, but in world politics and a humanitarian. In 1990, Saddam Hussein, in the lead up to the Gulf War, took a number of British nationals hostage in Baghdad and brought them into his palace to use them as human shields to protect him from any potential bombings from coalition forces. And one of these individuals was just a 5-year-old boy. And Jesse Jackson took it upon himself to negotiate the liberation of these innocent British nationals. And Jackson was able to do that because he was seen as someone who spoke beyond national politics, but could speak to a deeper human condition and to human rights. And so it's just one small example of what he did, but it's going to be really difficult to pack in a short while an ability to appreciate it. But I think even just looking at a small example gives you a window into the bigger man.
And you told our producers that you've met and you've interviewed people who have worked with Jesse Jackson. What stood out to you based on those conversations and people who, had personal experience with him?
Yeah, so one of the people that I interviewed, this was for my PhD research when I was a student at Oxford University, and I wrote my PhD about Black candidates who stood for office in contexts where most of their voters were not African American. And so this was about a politics of African American candidates who were coalition builders and often were electoral pioneers, the first Black candidates in the particular contests that they ran. And of course, Jesse Jackson, with his presidential campaigns in 1984 and 1988, were absolutely pioneering in that respect. And I interviewed, for example, the late Steve Coble, who was Jesse Jackson's key organizers and voter registrars for the 84 and 88 campaigns. And what stands out to me about Jackson is he's the model here of a candidate who cares deeply about the Black freedom struggle and about civil rights, and doesn't blanch on that, but also understands about creating a politics where you reach out to people beyond the Black community, where you can find common cause. And Jackson was brilliant at bringing together, of course, people from different racial and ethnic minority communities, but also made serious appeals to the white working class and wanted to appeal to all Americans who felt that they were on the rougher edges of society, or where the labor market was shutting them out or not giving them fair or equal opportunity. And that kind of politics, I think, is an extremely powerful politics that, particularly, of course, as a Democrat, as Jesse Jackson was, can be very electorally potent. And people sometimes forget actually how well Jesse Jackson did in those presidential campaigns, particularly in 1988. I mean, he was the runner-up to Michael Dukakis in that election at a time when, obviously we have a president now who didn't have prior political office, but it is still very unusual for someone without prior political office to run for president and do so well. And Jesse Jackson is an example of that.
Richard Johnson, we appreciate you being with us this morning and reminding us of just not his impact domestically in the U.S., but also how that stretched beyond U.S. borders. That's Richard Johnson in London. Thank you. We're going to take a